1,300 days is a long time to survive in Rimworld. You have to worry about robots who could kill you, bugs who could kill you, naked people who could kill you, the list goes on. In this video, I do my best to guide my colonists, but unfortunately some of them don't survive. Which of my colonists do you think will make it out alive? Welcome to the biggest video project I've ever made. Sit back, relax, and enjoy 1,300 days of Rimworld. We started by making our ideologian. We were disgusted by our mortal frames and sought to go above and beyond humanity by way of technology. Techno-transcendentism was born. With our ideologian, we had some goals. Simple goals such as survive as long as possible, achieve cyborg supremacy, and convert the world to our way of thinking. Nothing too crazy. These goals of ours would eventually change later in the video, but I'll let you find out why, as well as what our goals then became. And with that, we began. We landed on our world. At this point, our team of colonists consisted of Arco, Rob, and Williamson, the three horsemen of techno-transcendentism. We got right to work building a base. By the morning of day 1, we had beds up and the walls were coming along nicely. By day 4, we had a simple hallway set up for our defenses. If we were getting attacked, we could go into our base and force the bad thing to go through the hallway and over our traps. Also on day 4, we named our faction and our settlement. We named our faction the Cyber Hive and our settlement Nexus. On day 6, our defenses held strong against a mad squirrel. On day 8, a quest came in. If we protected a guy from the Empire from a rat who was following him, then one of our colonists would be able to gain a rank which would grant him psychic powers. Arco was going to be the one to get said powers. Bro showed up along with his rat. We dealt with the rat quickly and got the dude on his way. We then got the quest that would let us have the ceremony for Arco to be bestowed his new rank, but I did not accept it at that point. I then made Williamson the leader of our crew, and we had our ceremony for that. I would go on to make the leader role called the Prime Technarch, the moral guide role called the Hive Announcer, the research specialist role called the Browser, and the production specialist role called the Cyberneer. By day 13, I saw that we had a mood buff for uniform thoughts, since all of the fellas were on the same page when it came to techno-transcendentism. Without giving too much away, let's just say that we wouldn't always have this buff. On day 14, we made our very first wind turbine, which would generate power for us. On day 15, Williamson was clearing away the roof in the area we had cleared when there was a cave-in. Nobody was hurt though, it was fine. I had Arco and Williamson try and clear out the bits that had caved in, but as soon as they'd cleared out, more crud would just take its place. And this happened more than once. On day 16, we made our nutrient paste dispenser, which would entirely suffice for all of our dietary needs. On day 17, I had tried to put up a column that would hold up the roof and hopefully prevent further cave-ins, but that wasn't enough. As he cleared out that final square, he was buried by the oncoming cave-in. It's too soon. Along with losing a valuable colonist, we also lost our chance to let Arco get brain powers from the Empire. So that was a double whammy.
No, he was the royal. We didn't finish his... Oh.
We held a funeral for Arco despite having no body to bury.
Today, we lay Arco to rest after a mere 17 days. He will live on in our memory.
We eventually did clear out that spot where the cave-ins kept happening, so that was good. On day 19, a great thing happened.
Humps. Wow, this dude's not really great.
Little did I know at the time, but he was, in fact, great. We grabbed him and put him in bed. Despite him being great, he was going to be out of commission for
31 days?
Our boy had paralytic abasia. What are you gonna do? We simply could not leave Humps with the name Humps, so we decided to fill the void that Arco left when he died.
Arco 2? You have big shoes to fill, my guy.
You know how I said we wouldn't always have the mood buff from Uniform Thoughts? Arco 2 was the one to break that ice for us with his femism.
Diverse thoughts. What is this? We don't have that here.
On day 23, I saw a cougar. I had Williamson try and take out the cougar with his revolver, but that didn't really go crazy well.
Run. Oh, no, don't melee, Williamson. Wow.
The cougar wandered off. On day 25, a boomalope self-tamed, which was a great deal for Nexus. For those of you who may not be familiar with Rimworld, you can get chem fuel from boomalopes by milking them like a cow. So having a boomalope was basically free fuel we could use for electricity generators and such. Also on day 25, that cougar that had wandered off before, it rolled up and set its sights on Rob.
Oh, Rob. Where's this cougar? Oh, he's got time. Come through.
Our traps eventually got the better of it. On day 26, a boom rat went mad.
Oh.
Which was bad because when boom rats die, they may or may not explode a bit. Rob thought that was the perfect time to wander, sadly.
Oh, that's a bad time, Rob.
Williamson was able to lead the rat around and the rat hit one of our traps, but didn't die. So no boom just yet. We had Williamson take out the rat. And remember how he was a crack shot with the revolver? Eventually, he did manage to kill the rat. On day 28, our source of fuel came down with a bad case of the plague.
Oh, that's a problem.
We tried to take care of it, but the plague was outpacing our efforts. We needed the immunity percentage to reach 100 before the plague did. If the plague got there first, well, you remember how the boom rat went boom? Boomalopes are bigger.
Where do I put it? Make a new pen? Oh, it's going quick. I thought the immunity would catch it. The immunity's not catching it. Dude, no.
We had Rob move the boomalope into the mountain, where hopefully he could meet his explosive demise in peace without damaging anything or anyone.
Hurry! Okay, it'll be fine.
For some reason, on day 30, Rob had the bright idea to liberate the boomalope from what was going to be his mountainous resting place.
What are you doing, Rob?
I had Rob drop the bomb outside and get the heck back. And finally,
we're fine.
On day 31, the next big thing happened for the colony.
Oh, this is huge. Oh, this is huge. Wait. A sheriff named Rachel's crashing in a transport pod. Rachel suffering from... Why is everybody who joins my crud suffering from paralytic aphasia? Who is she, though? Who is she? She's Rob's daughter. We gotta bring her in, right?
We let her join. We had Rob go get his daughter.
Hang in there, Rob. Bring your daughter back. We need to help her become an augmented technist.
I am so sorry. Augmented technist is what you are called when you believe in techno-transcendentism. It is a cool name. Trust me.
How long is she out for? 39 days.
On day 35, we accepted a quest that would give us a psychic insanity lance as well as some jade if we killed 3 crazy raccoons. And the day after we accepted the quest, the raccoons showed up.
They're here.
Unfortunately, though, the previous day, on the day we accepted the quest, I was notified that we had a visitor. The visitor, Ram, was very much outside when the raccoons showed up. And,
Oh, no. Oh, no. Ram owned him.
And our loot from the quest showed up shortly later. On day 43, we got our first ever raid.
Oh dear, here we go.
It was one single guy, and before he could even reach the base...
Oh, he's getting destroyed by a wolf.
So that was that. At this point, things were looking pretty decent for the base. We had upgraded a good amount of our walls to granite. We moved our nutrient paste dispenser to be sticking into our new mountain room. We started building shelves. Things were all right. On day 50, Arco 2 stood up.
Arco 2's up. Arco 2's on his feet.
On day 51, we learned that Rob probably wouldn't win the Best Father of the Year award.
Wait, why don't you like her? She's your daughter, dude. She's physically... He doesn't like his daughter because she's physically hideous. Oh my goodness.
On day 55, we got our second raid. And once again, it was just one guy. We got him on our traps, and he was still alive, so we quickly tried to build a little prison to keep him in. But unfortunately, he didn't make it.
Go, 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 go. Bury him. He's dead, dude.
On day 60, our third raid showed up, and it was a furry guy this time. The homie hit our traps. On day 61, we saw 3 reinforced barrels chilling out in the wilderness from when somebody had died previously. In this video, I couldn't craft those barrels in any way. I could only find them or trade for them. So finding those 3 barrels was huge for us. If we got them, we could use them to build mortars. But we'll get more into mortars later. On day 61, another boomalope self-tamed. So we had a good source of fuel once again. On day 63, Arco 2 was out in the field flexing his hunting skills when a bad diagnosis came in.
What is organ decay?
Arco 2 had organ decay on his right kidney. At this point in time, I thought that this, like a lot of things in Rimworld, would lead to Arco's death if we didn't take care of it. So I tried to have us take care of it.
Oh, he's just doing it right there. My goodness. Oh. Surgery failed. How do you... So it's still in there?
Arco 2 would need to live with a decaying kidney for a little longer. And since day 63 hadn't been eventful enough already, Williamson went crazy, knocked out a boom rat, and started punching Arco, who, mind you, was fresh out of a failed kidney surgery. But Arco actually knocked out Williamson, put him in bed, and patched him up. What a guy. On day 66, I had just sent Williamson to go trade with some people when an alert came through.
He's dead. Oh, he's dead. Wait, so he's really good at melee? Slug him?
Yep, I had our guy with the failing kidney square up on a cougar. I had the other 2 guys start coming down as fast as possible. But for the most part, all I could do was watch and see how this played out.
Oh my goodness. He literally handled that by himself with his fists. Go home, take the day off, man.
Arco 2 was scratched up, but he was fine overall. So we officially had a local hero on our hands. And we were able to go get those barrels. On day 69, we tried again to remove Arco's kidney. Again, no cigar. Arco would still need to live life with the decaying kidney. On day 71, Rachel finally got up and started walking around. Things were looking good around the base. We had expanded out and made bedrooms. We had granite walls, we had a prison, and now we had 4 mobile colonists. Things were nice.
It's not nice. It's... Rob, run, Rob. Wait, okay, fine. Wait, Rob, seriously? Dude, Arco took down a cougar, man. Don't do this. Okay.
Despite killing the crazy rabbit, Rob wasn't out of the woods yet. Rob had an infection in his torso. Even though Rob had an infected torso, on day 75 we had him try a 3rd time to get Arco's kidney out. Why Rob couldn't operate a successful kidney removal surgery in the dark with an infected rabbit bite is beyond me. And speaking of that infected rabbit bite, I, unfortunately, genuinely forgot about it. So it went untended and became a medical emergency. That one's entirely on me. That 79% isn't great. I had Arco tend him, but the infection grew quick. We got him in bed, but we were too late. We buried him next to Arco 1 and had a funeral.
Today we lay Rob to rest. Rest up, Rob.
The next day, Rachel was upset for totally understandable reasons.
Oh no, I know why she's upset. Her dad died, bro.
But alas, Arco still had a failing kidney. So we had Rachel go do it because she was the best option between her and Williamson. And that's a 4th failed surgery.
Failed, that figures.
On day 79, I realized something about our colony. One man carried techno-transcendentism on his back, and his name was Williamson. On day 81, we had Rachel try again at getting Arco's kidney out. And when she was done, I didn't get a failed surgery alert.
She did it. She did it. He's fine. He doesn't have organ decay.
As it turns out, if Arco's kidney had totally decayed, it would not have killed him. But I didn't know that at the time. So, hey, here we are. On day 87, I got some good news.
Williamson tried to convert Rachel. Rachel was convinced. Rachel's on the team. I didn't know she was like that close. Oh, that's awesome. Our cause lives on.
On day 88, a wild dude named Cessnis wandered into the base, and I tried to tame the guy. It was crazy though, because
Do you see this man? He's the best medical person we could have possibly... Arco, talk to him, man. You know, bring him in.
we talked to him a bit, gave him some rice, but ultimately we arrested him so he wouldn't wander off. On day 91, we got our next raid. Again, it was one guy. The dude followed Williamson around the entire base until he went off into our rice fields and started a fire. I had Williamson start slugging the guy as Arco was coming out as well. Williamson went down and Arco 2 had to finish the job. Should we be surprised? Arco started putting out the fires as Rachel came outside and grabbed Williamson. I then had Rachel start putting the fires out too. I wanted to get the fires out, but I should have thought about Williamson because I should have had Rachel tend to Williamson and not put the fires out, but I didn't even think about it. And just like that, the original colonists were no longer with us. We buried Williamson and had a funeral. On the bright side, on day 94, Arco tamed the wild guy we had arrested, and we would bestow upon him a name that needed to be carried on.
Williamson 2.
On day 96, we accepted a quest that brought in some refugees. The refugees would help us with work around the base if we helped them by giving them housing and food and protection and such. At that time, we really could use the help. On day 101, Arco 2 was trying to bring back a cow that had just self-tamed when a bobcat went after him. Once again, though, Arco proved that he can handle himself. By day 103, we had beds for the refugees. Our base was looking good. We got raided by a pig man on day 105. The guy came around, hit one trap, and then went in and started punching our walls. So we went out and dealt with them ourselves. On day 107, I saw that the refugees were going to be heading out in less than a week. On day 108, Arco was just walking past Rachel, and she must have mentioned something quite convincing as he walked past her, because Arco 2 then converted to techno-transcendentism. The movement continued on. Later on day 108, somebody landed in our backyard, so we had Rachel go get her. We got her into a bed, and then Williamson patched her up. Our new lady properly joined us pretty quickly after Williamson worked on her a bit. We named her Stacy. On day 113, another transport pod crashed out in the wilderness. Rachel came and grabbed him and got him to bed. And just like Stacy, Williamson patched him up. Later that night, Stacy was getting hunted by a cougar. We had our people come inside and the cougar hit our traps. No harm done to anybody. And not long after the cougar came through, the refugees left. So it was just us again. On day 114, that guy we saved joined us. So you know what we named him?
Rob 2.
On day 115, Rob 2 was in such intense pain that he flew into a murderous rampage and decided to kill Williamson 2. We had our boy Arco 2 arrest him to help him cool off. We released him shortly thereafter, and although he wasn't on a murderous rampage anymore, he wasn't great mentally. On day 117, our wealth as a colony was around 43,000. For those of you who do not know, your wealth in Rimworld directly impacts the events that happen to you. The more wealthy you are, the more terrible things happen. 43,000 wasn't bad, but let me tell you, as the video progresses, we gain some serious wealth. On day 118, Rachel was already over the loss of her dad, Rob. On day 119, a pack of man-hunting red foxes showed up, but our traps handled them fairly easily. However, right after that, we got raided again. We brought everybody inside. The raider busted into our room that we used to store our fuel, broke a couple shelves, started a fire, and left the room. He came around and set some of our rice fields on fire. I had Arco come out and engage him in combat, and Rachel came out as well for support. Arco was taking some licks, so I pulled him back and Rachel finished the job. We put out the fires the dude started, and all was well once again. On day 120, Rob went a bit crazy again and started a fight with Arco, who had taken on a cougar and a bobcat by himself and won, mind you. He followed Arco out into the field, so Arco had to end things. This actually worked out though. Why? We captured Rob 2 and were then going to convert him in prison and then release him once he became an augmented technist, which I just want to remind you is a cool name. On day 123, we were getting started on our huge kill box, the designs for which I got from Francis John. Later that same day, Arco started getting chased by a bear, which is on me. He had inspired taming, so I told him to go tame the bear because I thought it'd be cool to have a bear. But even with the inspiration, the bear got mad. I had Rachel start making her way down to Arco, but...
Did he just handle the bear by himself too? Holy crud, we have a superhero on our team. Who is this guy?
Arco put himself to bed and Stacy patched him up. Before day 123 had ended, we got raided, because why not? One of the raiders killed our tame boom rat and caught himself on fire. The other guy hit our traps after starting some fires. And then the boom rat guy also hit our traps. We worked on rebuilding our traps, which was good, because a pack of man-hunting bunnies came through on day 127. I tried to bring everybody inside, but they caught up to Arco. Arco one-shot a bunny, and I think he finished off the whole pack, even though Stacy was there too. Remember Rob 2, who we had in prison? It was time to release him. On day 138, Arco once again had inspired taming. We saw a warg on the map. We sent Arco after it, but before Arco even got close to the warg had other ideas.
Oh, that's bad.
I wanted a warg on the team, but unfortunately we had to take it down. And we actually did take it down with relative ease, which was good. Nobody died. On day 140, I checked our wealth and we had crossed 50,000. The next day, another refugee quest came through and I accepted it. I figured they could help us build out our security, help us with our kill box and such. Unfortunately, literally right after I accepted the quest, we got raided. And thus began a bit of a chaotic time for Nexus. A refugee named Dayon didn't make it to the base quite in time and started fighting the raiders. He was quite good at melee though, so he held his own. We had Arco hop in there, with Rachel off to the side providing supporting fire. Dayon went down, but we got the raiders. Arco took Dayon to bed, and we sent Williamson to go patch him up. But unfortunately, as Williamson was working on him, we failed the quest. And on top of that, Dayon's friends weren't happy. Stacy got downed, but Arco came and downed one of the angry refugees. Rob 2 then went down. I told Williamson to come get Stacy. I also recruited Rachel, who started shooting through the door over Rob's head. I then thought it was a better idea to have Rachel rescue Rob. Arco finally downed the last refugee, and we were safe once again. Relatively speaking, I had Williamson capture one of the downed refugees. I said we were safe relatively speaking because I was checking to see how everybody was doing when I realized that Arco was literally on death's door. Rachel grabbed some of the good medicine, busted in there, and was able to patch him before he died. He wasn't out of the woods yet though, and he got down to a hair over half an hour from death before Rachel tended him again, which pulled him further from the brink. Rachel straight up saved Arco's life that day. Our base was left with a bit of a gory scene. Now, I understand that this may be a hair messed up, what I'm about to do, but keep in mind, we had goals, right? Convert the world. Remember that one? We were going to start converting the refugee who we beat down and captured after he tried to kill us after his friend died. As day 143 was ending, I had Rachel clean up the place. On day 144, our captured refugee friend converted over to techno-transcendentism. We then worked on recruiting him. Was this wrong of me? Like, what was the right move? I didn't kill the refugee who died to set all this off. I didn't ask the raiders to show up. If we hadn't stopped the refugees, our colonists would have died. Should I have let the guy die on our floor? Should I have let him just go free after healing him up? In hindsight, maybe that was the right move. So we got raided again on day 145. Thankfully though, this one was no big deal. On day 146, I got notified that we had new lovers in the colony. Rob 2 and Stacy were now in item. Rob apparently rizzed up Stacy's diet. So take notes, fellas. On day 147, we got raided by a single furry person.
One dude. I laugh.
He started some of our rice fields on fire. Rob and Rachel took care of them. We captured our furry raider and would start working on converting them. I say them because I was under the impression that our furry person was a dude, but it turns out she was a 45-year-old female. This would actually become our approach to anybody we would capture from getting raided or crash transport pods or whatever. We'd capture, convert, then recruit, if we could. Remember our captured refugee friend? We named our new guy Rusty. We now had double the colonists we started with. On day 155, it was fantastic because our new guy Rusty converted our furry captive Mitsuya. We then started working on recruiting Mitsuya. The world wasn't yet converted, but slowly we were bringing people over. On day 160, we got another raid, and these guys were a little more geared up than the previous raids. I brought everybody inside. One of the raiders died on my traps before he even came into the base. One of the others came in, set our table on fire that we had sitting out there. Then another raider came and just straight broke it. Then they started just breaking random things of ours, which wasn't super ideal, but then some royal collectors showed up. Royal collectors are people from the Empire who come and just kind of hang around your base from time to time. You can give them gold if you want to get into the good graces of the Empire, but I didn't do that very much with this colony. All that to say, they're quite well armed. The Empire folks took care of one raider, and the others hit our traps, so we were good to go. On day 162, we basically finished our amazing killbox security system, and on day 163, we were entirely closed in, and it was a good feeling. On day 164, Mitsuya joined our crew and we got raided immediately afterwards. This was going to be our first genuine test for the new defenses. They held up. On day 166, our wealth was at 61,000. On day 167, we got visitors. But little did they know we were the last people they'd visit. They showed up and were gonna leave not long after they arrived, but unfortunately we got raided before they could leave. It was just one group of like 5 to 7 raiders, but at least one of them was a fire-breathing dragon person. So... oh! Uh-oh. We got everybody inside just in time. They came around, and some of them hit the traps, but some didn't. So we had to take care of them ourselves. On day 173, we renamed Mitsuya and gave her the name Mitsuko. So keep that in mind. Mitsuya is now Mitsuko. As day 178 was ending, Rob proposed to Stacy, and she said no. I'm just kidding. She said yes. We now had an engaged couple in the colony. On day 179, another transport pod crashed, and we accepted her in. Williamson went and got her because she had, you guessed it, paralytic abasia. Mel was now in the mix. On day 181, we got raided by some pig people. Our defenses worked like a charm, and none of them even got close to getting through. Our colony then enjoyed a good number of peaceful days, where nothing wild happened. We made more granite chunks, put out fire, researched new stuff for the cyber hive. Good stuff. Things were going well. And on day 192, Rob and Stacy got married. But all the good stuff came to a screeching halt on day 193, probably during Rob and Stacy's honeymoon, when I got an alert. An alert that a toxic fallout was happening. Toxic fallouts are terrible. Toxic fallouts will eventually kill pretty much anything that's outside without a roof over it. Colonists can survive outside during a toxic fallout if they have a gas mask, which we didn't have, or if they were a waster, which none of my colonists were. More on wasters later. I zoned out areas for roofs to be built, and I also set up some hydroponics to be built so we could have some food coming in when we couldn't grow anything outside. I also made a zone that would be safe for my colonists to be in during the fallout. So any place that would have a roof. Roofs started getting constructed. During the franticness of all this, Rob convinced his new wife Stacy to convert to techno-transcendentism. That's another one for the cause. Williamson finished making our first geothermal power generator, which was a huge win. We also built some batteries to store our power, which also was great. We built a cable to connect our generator to the rest of our power grid, if you will. The hydroponics started getting built, but then
Figures.
Things indeed had been going too well. But we worked together and we got the wall to the hydroponics built quick. The raiders turned out to not be a big deal. A good number of them hit our traps and ultimately they fled. Before fleeing though, one of them peeled off and started coming down the underside of the base. And I didn't know why until I saw...
Wait, Stacy. Oh my word, I had no idea. I had no idea she was out there. Oh, that would have been so bad.
For all I know, Rob could have lost his wife that day. Our power was flickering because we weren't generating enough of it. But when we completed the cabling to the generator, the flickering stopped. We were all set. Our plants that were outside started dying. I had Stacy stay inside the safe zone because her toxic buildup was getting too high. We built a little ring of roofs for our animals to stay under. But as we were still preparing, Williamson was off to haul some dang crud, and a cougar was feeling peckish. I had Williamson start coming back as fast as he stinking could. I also brought down Arco. When he was kinda close, Rachel wasn't far either, so I got her involved. Arco and Rachel were able to take down the cougar. I had them dip pretty much immediately after downing the cougar because of the fallout going on. And on day 198,
The worst of the toxic fallout has settled.
we were in the clear. Stacy was good to leave the safe zone. On day 199,
No way.
we had Arco go capture the person, and Williamson patched the guy up, and just in the nick of time as well. On day 200, we were set to start converting our new furry captive. Also on day 200, we made Arco 2 our prime technarch. It only made sense. We also made Mitsuko our browser, so she'd be a boss at research. And we made Rachel our hive announcer as day 201 began. Rachel was the only augmented technist at one point, and now look at us. On day 202, we got raided again, but this one was different. They were in drop pods and landed right on top of my crud. They broke a good number of my batteries, which I wasn't super worried about. I eventually brought my people into the room where the raiders were and let loose. We dealt with the raiders. Nobody went down, but Rusty dodged a bullet when one of the batteries exploded after the fighting was over. Rachel caught some of the blast, but she didn't go down. That was the end of that. Until the very next day when we got raided yet again. Thankfully, our traps dealt with them though, so we didn't have to do anything ourselves. Rachel was able to convert our furry captive, so we then worked on recruiting the guy. We had peace over the coming days, which was nice. We worked on our base, mined some steel, slept, talked with our captive, continued researching things. On day 210, Rachel tried to properly convert Williamson, and while it did work a good amount, he still wasn't on board with technotranscendentism. For those of you who don't know, that percentage you see there is how close the person is to converting. Once it hits 0, they convert over. For some people, like Williamson, it's quite an ordeal to work them down to 0%. On day 211, we got the exciting news that Stacy was pregnant. And on day 212, our furry captive joined the rest of our colonists. We named him Fenji. Things were going very well for Nexus at the moment. We had 9 colonists, solid defenses. We had peace in the land. Things were good. Our wealth was sitting at 70,000. On day 213, Rachel tried again to bring Williamson over, but he still didn't convert. On day 214, Mel's paralytic abasia wore off. On day 222, we finally gave Mel her new name, Melanie. Stacy moved to her 3rd trimester on day 224, so it was time to prep for the baby. On day 231, we had Rachel work on Williamson. We were going to have her focus on Williamson until he came over. Then we were going to have her focus on Melanie. And later that same day...
Oh, nah. What is this?
That was some mechanoid crud that was going to activate in 4 days if we didn't get close to it and activate the proximity sensor. So as long as we didn't get too close, we wouldn't have to worry about that stuff just yet. Which was good because at the moment there were more pressing things to worry about.
Stacy's in labor.
Williamson was there for the birth, as well as Rob.
Oh, please have the baby safely. Oh, it's a healthy baby.
The child was born. Rob picked up the kid and took it to a safe spot. We then gave the baby a strong name.
Baby Stan? Stan.
I made a zone to keep people out from where the mech turrets would shoot. At the end of day 231, we learned that Williamson 2 and Melanie were now a couple. We accepted a quest that we need to take care of 7 man-hunting lynxes for in order to complete. The lynxes showed up and our traps took care of each and every one of them. Piece of cake. Later that same day, we got raided again. A lot of our traps had been used up by the lynxes, so the raiders weren't going to have much trouble getting into the base. I had our people line up. It was time to defend Nexus. The first raider came around the corner and we sent bullets to meet him. His pals were not far behind. The raiders started taking cover behind the sandbags we had set up. Rob went down, and we had Williamson rescue him. Rusty went down as well, and we had Stacy grab him. The battle went on a little bit, until finally the raiders broke and started fleeing. I checked on our wounded, and they weren't on the brink of death, which was good. Williamson got Rob to bed, and Stacy got Rusty to bed as well. Rob and Rusty were then patched up. We had survived our first real firefight. We took down the sandbags the raiders were hiding behind. Despite winning the fight, we weren't back to peacetime just yet. Rusty went to a murderous rage and decided to kill Williamson. I had Arco try to arrest him, but when he kinda juked Arco, I had Melanie try to do it, and she was able to arrest him right as he reached Williamson. And while this was happening, the mech turrets woke up. I had everybody in the safe zone, so the turrets weren't posing any real threat to us at that point, even though they were awake. On day 237, we had Rachel work on converting Williamson again. On day 242, we had an infestation. I brought everybody into the room where the bugs were coming in, and we dealt with them with relative ease. Stacy got a bit messed up, but overall, we were fine. We also had Rachel work on Williamson more on day 242. On day 243, we had another not good thing happen. A defoliator ship landed. If I didn't do anything about that ship, it was going to kill all the plants in and around our colony. And the ship was also protected by other robots, so we couldn't just walk up to it and get rid of it. Remember how I said that we'd get more into mortars later? We had built a mortar that we hadn't used yet. Now was the time to break it in. I had Arco start lobbing shots at the mechs. We got a couple hits in, but not enough to destroy anything. We had Rachel continue working on Williamson on day 245. Our people were struggling. This wasn't exactly the best of times. However, on day 247, something worked out entirely well for us. A group of people came through. When the mechs attacked them, they put them in the dirt with a quickness. I sent Stacy, Rob, and Rusty down to take care of the defoliator ship. As our people were working on the ship, the group who killed the mechs who were protecting the ship had moved up north and were trying to get past the turrets that had been chilling up there. They got shot up a bit, came down, killed a cougar, went back up by the mechs, got shot up again, backed off, but eventually they started attacking the turrets. They got one of the turrets pretty low, but a lot of them died, and the rest fled. On day 249, I had Rachel yet again work on Williamson. Bro was not making things easy. I had Arco lob shots at the mech turrets again, but again, we weren't able to destroy anything. On day 252, our wealth was around 85,000. We were finally able to break a couple of the mech things on day 253. It was Mitsuko who fired the shot. And on day 254, we were getting there. It was taking a hot minute, but we were getting there. We tried to shoot more shots at them, but our mortar barrel had broken, so we were out of luck for the time being. We could only wait for other people to show up and hopefully take them out for us. Luckily, we didn't have to wait long. A royal tribute collector came and went around back. One guy peeled off from the group and took out the last big turret all by himself. I dismissed the group after giving them some gold to lower our wealth. I then got most of our people and sent them out to clean up the rest of the mech problem. Rusty took a hit and then went down before even getting a shot off. We were able to get one of the turrets to start sparking, and the explosion knocked Stacy down, and the final shot from the second not sparking turret downed Rob. But we had all lived, which is what was important. We got everybody inside and worked on patching people up. We had survived the mech invasion. On day 260, we had our very first machine jubilee. Everybody gathered in the main room, and Arco gave a speech. I didn't know this at the time, but if the Machine Jubilee was good enough, it brought in a new potential colonist once it was done. And this first Jubilee must have been good enough, because as soon as it was over, a new guy wanted to join. We accepted him in. What was great about this new guy, Storch? He was already an augmented technist. On day 260, Williamson proposed to Melanie. Things were looking up once again. On day 261, some thrumbos came through. Thrumbos are basically big furry tanks that'll mess you up if you get on their bad side. They came into the base and just marched through a lot of our traps. After hitting said traps, one of them didn't make it, but we did try to save the other one. We brought it in, gave it some food, and patched it up. We tried to tame it, but when Arco talked to it, there was a 1% chance of it getting tamed. But I missed something that happened later.
Oh, we have a tamed Rumbo.
We called her Tumby. At the end of day 269, I learned that our wealth had broken 100,000. On day 270, after many efforts at converting Williamson, we had Rachel do an actual conversion ritual on him, which, I mean, I know. It was a means to an end. On day 271, Williamson 2 and Melanie got married. We now had 2 families in Nexus. Times were once again peaceful for us. Until day 276, when another defoliator ship came through. Also on day 276, Stan grew up a bit. Rob and Stacy's kid was growing up. And on day 277, Melanie became pregnant. Big things for the 2 families in Nexus. By the by, at this point in time, our fit as a group was kinda on point. On day 279, we had Rachel wake up the mechs. One of the droids started following Fenji when he was in our animal pen, and it ended up following him all the way around our base and hitting a trap. I had Fenji with Tumby and Rob get out there and shoot at it as it was coming back around. I was so focused on that situation that I didn't know about Rusty. Thankfully, the droids left, so Williamson was able to get out there and grab him. Williamson got him to bed and then patched him up. Later on though, on day 280, he went too close, got their attention, and went down again. I lined up our people outside, had Williamson grab Rusty, and then one of the remaining droids started coming at us, and we handled it with relative ease. We moved our line up, and another droid started coming, and shortly the last droid as well. The last droid squared up on Storch, but we worked together and the 2 droids were soon destroyed. Williamson got Rusty to bed and then tended him. We had Arco head out and bang up the ship a bit, and then we had Storch come and finish it off. And once again, we were free from mech ships. We were chilling for a couple days until day 285 when another toxic fallout happened. And while the fallout was in full swing, a transport pod crashed. We accepted the person in, and Fenji brought the person inside the base. And guess what? She had paralytic abasia. I may as well not even mention it anymore when people have it. We named our new paralyzed person Paula. She was a pyromaniac. Paula the Pyro. At this point, she was Paula the Paralyzed Pyro. We were much more prepared for this toxic fallout since this wasn't our first rodeo, so I wasn't stressing too much. And thankfully, it ended on day 289, so it wasn't even that bad of a fallout. On day 290, we tried another ritual on the homie Will. It was a good one, but still, bro was not an augmented technist. On day 291, we renamed Storch to Nico. On day 292, we saw Mitsuko use our neural supercharger, which wasn't something we'd seen before. That was something that us augmented technists needed from time to time. We needed to just zap our brains every now and then, or else we'd get moody. On day 293, Rachel was able to finally convert Williamson to techno-transcendentism. After all this time, he was finally on board. On day 297, Melanie went into labor. It was baby time. Williamson was there, which was appropriate since he was the father and also the doctor. The only other person there aside from some people coming and going was paralyzed Pyropala in the next bed. Melanie gave birth to a healthy boy, and we named him Wilson. We now had 13 colonists in Nexus. We hadn't had a death in quite some time, but this is Rimworld. So the question one must ask oneself is, how long will this last? On day 300, Stacy got pregnant again. We then experienced many days of peace and tranquility. total peace. On day 310, a pig person landed out in the wilderness, so we had Fenji go capture them. On day 311, we had an infestation inside of our freezer storeroom. I brought everybody in, and we opened fire. We survived the encounter, but those sorts of situations always stunk. On day 312, we got a new quest that gave us another colonist for free just by accepting it. We accepted it, and Sev showed up. This next bit is a bit rough, but I wanted to move where we had our graves, so I had us transplant the occupants. On day 313, we got raided, and it wasn't just any old raid. So, you know how I said that quest gave us a new colonist for free? That was in some ways true, because Sev did just show up, but she was being followed. Sev was supposed to marry some leader's kid, but she got drunk before the ceremony, and then she blew chunks on the altar, which insulted her would-be father-in-law. Bro sent the raiders to get revenge on Sev, and that is who we had to deal with. So not totally free. The raiders hit our traps and decided to dip. Welcome to the crew, Sev. On day 316, we got a new piece of crud to deal with. A mechanoid cluster that had a climate adjuster. Nothing was awake yet, but when it did wake up, the thing would slowly lower the temperature of our whole colony, freezing us out slowly. We had Rachel wake them up. On day 318, we got raided, and I thought it was going to be a great thing, thinking they would help take out the mechs for us. That would not be the case.
Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's real bad. This is the worst thing. Is anybody... Wilson?
They were in the baby's room. Wilson! We lined everybody up and let the raiders have it. We beat the raiders, but baby Wilson didn't make it.
Wilson, I'm sorry!
No, he died in the raid.
We cleaned up our base. We rebuilt what the raiders broke. Wilson was our first loss in quite some time. On day 319, Stacy went into labor and gave birth to a healthy baby. We named the new baby Jonathan. On day 320, I was made aware of the fact that mechs had been assembled. Here's the thing. That thing there was a mech assembler. It would spit out new mechs every so often until it either ran out or was destroyed. I didn't know that's what was happening at the time, but that's what was happening at the time. On day 322, paralyzed Paula became less paralyzed. On day 323, more mechs were assembled, and that's when I realized...
Wait a minute. There's more of them. It's making more.
On day 326, visitors showed up, and lo and behold...
There's no way. Be still, my heart, be still it.
Needless to say, we bought all of their barrels. As soon as we bought the barrels, a quest came in. I accepted it for the purpose of trying to draw people in who could then attack the mechs for us. After we accepted the quest, a ship crashed outside our base. I was thinking I would be able to control those people to make them come inside our base. But no, that was not the case, and they remained outside. Some bad guys came for them, and,
So that didn't go, like, well.
we failed that quest for some reason. We started shelling the climate adjuster, and we got some solid hits in until...
Everybody on deck. Everybody on deck, okay?
I grabbed everybody I could and got them into position. We were ready. Our traps took out the smaller droids, but we still had 4 centipedes to deal with. They marched through our traps, and we opened fire. We made Fenji send in Tumby. Our EMP grenades were working. With Tumby's help, we took out one of them. The droids adapted to our EMPs and were no longer stunned by them. Rachel went down, and we had Williamson take her. Paula went down. We took down another centipede. Sev grabbed Paula. We took down another droid. Stacy was killed. Williamson went crazy, dropped Rachel, and went on a drug binge. Nico started patching up Rachel. I didn't see this happen, but we killed the last mech. But Rachel didn't make it. Rachel and Stacy
If you'll remember, Rachel was Rob 1's daughter, and Stacy was baby Jonathan's mom. Remember Williamson's drug binge? Melanie grabbed her husband and got him to bed. I didn't pay his overdose much mind, thinking it would soon wear off, but I was wrong. Williamson too just died. From what? From overdose? I can't breathe. We buried Williamson, then Rachel, then Stacy. We had Rachel's funeral, then Williamson's. We were going to hold off on Stacy's funeral because everybody wasn't in the best of spirits. We made Rusty our new hive announcer since Rachel was no longer with us. We then had Stacy's funeral. Our wealth was at 105,000, taking a pretty sizable dip with the loss of life that we sustained. We then shelled the spot where the climate adjuster was. We didn't get it right away, but we'd keep at it, firing off some shots when we could. Stan then grew a bit. Remember how the climate adjuster was going to slowly freeze us? All the bushes and grass started dying. It was quite chilly outside now. On day 337, our pig person captive, if you remember that being a thing, was converted over to technotranscendentism. On day 339, I decided it was time to get rid of the dang mech invaders. I brought some people down. Stan hooked an EMP grenade and we were free. We were no longer going to be slowly frozen to death. On day 342, Melanie converted to technotranscendentism, which, I mean, she was on board now, but her spirit was broken. If you really think about it, she lost her son, Wilson, and then her husband, Williamson. So her converting this way was bittersweet, to say the least. We had a nice respite where nothing too crazy happened. On day 347, we had a semi-close call. A herd of roughly 1 million man-eating guinea pigs was coming through. I thought they'd hit our traps, but our defenses weren't totally repaired from some fires, so they just came on in. We then had to deal with them, and Rusty went down. He'd be alright, but he went down. On day 350, our pig captive was recruited to the team. I didn't totally realize she was a female, so I originally named her Williamson 3, but then renamed her Willow once I did realize. This respite from madness lasted for a good long while. We were raided on day 360, where they dropped right into our base, but we were able to take them out. Rusty went down somehow, but he was alright. Rusty was a bit of a delicate dude. On day 365, Jonathan grew. The peacetime continued on for many more days. On day 379, one of my least favorite things in Rimworld happened. A psychic ship landed. The longer that thing existed, the worse my female colonists would be mentally. It would gradually degrade the mental state of every female. On day 380, we got raided, and normally they wouldn't have been a problem for us, but we had a hole in our wall through which they strolled. Remember that dragon fire breather person from earlier? Oh, that's bad. Once our big turret exploded and downed several of them, they decided to flee. So that could have been worse. On day 381, the ship let out a blast that drove all the nearby animals crazy. We made Mitsuko start taking shots at the ship. As she was doing that, Stan grew more. Mitsuko was able to hit the ship and wake up the mechs. On day 382, the ship intensified the mental drone the females were feeling. I don't know how this started, to be honest, but on day 383, Melanie drew the attention of one of the droids. It followed her inside the base, and she went down. Rusty rescued her, and Arco and Tumby were able to take out the droid as Rusty got her to bed. We told Rusty to patch her up. The ship let out another pulse that drove animals mad, and it also continued to make the females feel worse. We lobbed more shots at the ship. On day 385, a pretty sad thing happened.
What? To pursue a better life?
Rusty gave up on us. But we didn't give up on him.
Arrest him.
We captured our refugee friend Rusty once before, and we'll do it again. After, knocking him out, we put Rusty to bed, and he was fine. We had Fenji go out with a sniper rifle and Tumby and shoot at the droids. One time they came up close, and Tumby got involved and was able to take out 2 of them. The ship's mental drone got even worse. On day 387, Fenji was taking shots at the ship, and the final droid shot at Fenji. And Tumby
took that personally. Tumby went up and started wailing on it, and Fenji was able to get the final shot in. Arko then chipped in and helped Fenji destroy the ship, freeing the females from its mental drone. Despite being mentally freed up though, Sev still gave up on us. Sev was making for the edge of our land, but Melanie was able to catch up to her and grab her. I released Sev after we arrested her. She wasn't imprisoned for long. Willow eventually gave up as well. Things were not great around the neighborhood. However, on day 395, we were able to convert Sev over to techno-transcendentism. Paula was the only one left we had to convert in order to have unified thoughts once again. On day 400, Sev drew near to the ancient danger room. If you see a smooth wall in your Rimworld world, that means there's a room inside that could contain some good things or bad things. You never know what you're gonna get. We wouldn't break into our room just yet, but you may want to keep watching for when we do. On day 402, I realized that Willow was missing a leg, so I decided to replace the leg. We hadn't made any proper prosthetics yet though, so we did the next best thing and installed a stick so she could have a peg leg. I missed the surgery, but it was successful because booyah, peg leg. On day 408, a mega sloth self-tamed. Mega sloths are pretty dang powerful like Thrumbos are. We now had two awesome animals on the team. We named our mega sloth Mikey. Mikey the mega sloth. On day 414, we made Rob our hive announcer. At that point, I felt that Rob was a better choice than Rusty. On day 425, Jonathan had a growth moment. Now Jonathan was 7 years old. On day 426, a new bad thing happened. A mech cluster with a toxic spewer landed, but it wasn't on our actual, home base map tile. It was somewhere else, which you might think is a good thing. But no, the toxic spewer would affect our base from a distance. At this point, our wealth was sitting at around 130,000. Just checking in with that. We were going to send some people to handle this quick. We were going to send Tumby, Fenji, Arko, Stan, Paula, Rob, and Nico. I sent the travelers on their way. The caravan made its way to where the spewer was. Stuff was dying back home. Finally, the caravan arrived, and I was able to get a look at what we were dealing with. Things weren't going to be a walk in the park. I used Fenji's Wolfman powers to bring 2 rhinos to our side. The rhinos charged in and started shaking things up. I got our people involved. 1 rhino went down. Fenji sniped one of the droids. Rob went down. I told Stan to go try and patch up Rob. The other rhino went down. We were able to take down another droid. Stan got to Rob and started doing as he was told. But then I thought better and had him start taking Rob to a safer spot. We were able to take down a turret. Tumby was able to take down a droid. Rob was on fire in a very literal sense. Stan pulled him out. I'm not sure why he dropped him to begin with. Tumby started another turret sparking, but the explosion knocked him down. Paula got shot by a droid and went down. We had Nico tend to Rob once Stan had brought him back to a relatively safe spot. Arko grabbed Paula. Stan hucked an EMP grenade and stunned one of the droids. I pulled everybody back and had Arko tend Paula and Nico tend Rob. We had 3 things left to kill. I sent in the homies Stan and Fenji to finish the job. I had Arko move Paula after being slightly nailed by an incendiary shell. Stan tossed a grenade and stunned one of the droids. I had Stan toss a grenade at the other droid while Fenji focused on the already stunned droid. Fenji was able to take out that already stunned droid. I then had Fenji shift his focus to the last non-turret mech. Eventually, he was able to take it out, and then I had the 2 guys focus on the last mech, the big turret. At this point, Rob was fine, but Paula wasn't doing great. I had Arko tend her, but I eventually had Nico take over. I sent Arko after the turret.
We lost Tumby, no!
As we were working on saving Paula, the guys were able to destroy the final turret, putting us back in relative safety. Now, here is where I did something that I should not have done, but I didn't know any better. The toxic spewer, it was still in that room. We had not destroyed it. So I just tried to get everybody out of there as fast as possible after destroying the mechs, thinking we'd won. This action was not the greatest next thing. But like I said, I didn't know any better. Our wealth took a bit of a dive. We were now at 114,000. The travelers got back to Nexus in one piece. Later that same day, just before it became day 429, Melanie left to head back to where the spewer was. Yep, I sent her by herself. She got this. Later on day 429, Stan became an adult, but I think we all know when Stan really became a man. Melanie arrived back at where the spewer was, and we made a terrible discovery.
So where's the spewer then? Did it reform? Tumby died for nothing.
We were going to try and have Melanie get into the building without dealing with the mechs. We had her break a hole in the wall, and once she did, there it was. The toxic spewer. Melanie was able to destroy the toxic spewer. We made her get the heck out of Dodge. On day 430, Melanie made it back. All in all, we did lose Tumby, but it was kind of crazy that we didn't lose any colonists. On day 432, we made a bionic arm. We were going to give Arco a brand new arm. It was about time we start taking strides towards our supreme cyborg goal. Rob prepared the medicine and got to work. The operation finished.
He's modded! Yes!
Our augmented Technist leader was now properly augmented. No offense to Willow and her wooden leg. On day 437, we had another machine jubilee. Everybody gathered in our dance room and enjoyed the jubilation. After the jubilee was over, a wandering person wanted to join just like Nico did, and we let him in. We named him Williamson 3. What number of Williamson, Arco, and Rob do you think will be on by the end of this video? On day 442, we got raided by another mech cluster. This time it wasn't a climate adjuster, but a smoke spewer. It blocked the sun and reduced light, which honestly was not the worst thing in the world. We had Fenji come through and try and shoot open a hole in the wall, but that woke up the mechs. We had Mitsuko fire a shot off at the smoke spewer. That caused the droids to attack our base, which was not a bad thing for us at all. Our traps got him. We had Fenji head back up there. We were going to have him try to shoot open a hole again, but Mitsuko shot off another shell, which totally blew open the wall. When Fenji got within range, the turret started firing at him, so he pulled him back and had Mitsuko fire again, and she was able to get the turret pretty low. We then had Fenji use his furry powers to bring a wild Mega Sloth over to our side, and it was able to take out the turret, leaving us free to destroy the smoke spewer. And we were in the clear. Just as day 443 was beginning, I got the news that Rusty and Melanie were now a couple. It was nice that Melanie had something good happen to her after all the crud she had been through. On day 446, it was a big moment for Nexus. Paula converted to techno-transcendentism. And once again, we had uniform thoughts in the colony. We enjoyed a good number of peaceful days until day 456, when we got raided again. But it wasn't just any raid. This was our first siege raid.
Our first siege one.
The raiders were going to set up mortars like I had and start blasting us from a distance. We were going to beat them to it. We were able to get a shot off on them, but then they were able to get a mortar set up and started shooting at us.
Oh!
We traded volleys, and we got a solid hit on him. We had Fenji head out there with his sniper, and he only needed to get one shot off before the raiders changed their tactics and were gonna assault our base. We lined up our people and let them have it. Booyah! These mortar raiders were actually fantastic once they got beat, because we were then able to go grab their mortars and shells and make them ours. By day 458, our wealth was at 150,000. On day 463, a sunblocker came through. Sunblockers basically did the same thing as smoke spewers. We got a direct hit on the sunblocker, and the mech started busting a move for the entrance to our base. The droids hit our traps and died, so we were totally good there. And we then sent Arco in to get rid of the turret, and it wasn't able to hit it, so he was able to destroy it. He then was able to destroy the sunblocker itself. That very well could have been our easiest mech experience so far. On day 468, we set up the operation for Melanie to become a cyborg. We had made a new arm for her as well, and it was time to to install it. Rob 2 came through, did the procedure, and it was a success. We now had 2 cyborgs on the team if we're not including Willow and her wooden leg. On day 470, Jonathan grew up a bit. Also on day 470, we had a captive who joined us. We got raided a while ago, and we captured her, converted her, and now we had recruited her. Remember how I mentioned that it was nice that something good happened to Melanie after all she'd been through? Well, Rusty asked her for a break. So, day 471 had another big moment for Nexus. We sent Arco down to this ship that had been in our land since day 1. But more on that in a minute. We renamed Onsen to Ryoko. Here's the thing about Ryoko. She was a waster. That's why she was gray. And the thing about wasters is that they need drugs to live. Like, genuinely. They will die if they don't get some drugs every 60 days. So that's a thing. Now, back to Arco. Arco wailed on this ship for a good bit. Eventually, he got it to start sparking and it exploded. Now, why did we mess with this Exostrider ship thing at all? It contained a mechanoid transponder. We had Arco go decrypt it. Once it was decrypted, a quest came through. We accepted the quest. And after we did, a mechanoid ship landed. And it spit out a bunch of droids. The ship wasn't going to do anything bad to us just by being there though, so that was good. Eventually, the droids started making their way towards the base. Our traps took care of them no problem. And once they were dead, we got another alert. Dimitri's mech link was available. We had Arco go down and extract the mech link. After he took the mech link out of Dimitri's head, we had Arco then put it inside his own head. Don't worry about the sanitation of it all, it's fine. After he stuck it in there, Arco became even more valuable to us. He became our Mechanator. After he became the Mechanator, a little droid landed, and he was on our side. Arco could control him and tell him what to do. We named our new droid Little Builder. I do apologize, that was a lot of tea to spill in one sitting, but long story short, Arco was now even more of our main man, and moving forward, we would now have little droids tooling around the base. On day 476, we had Arco give a speech to try and raise morale. Little did Arco or myself know what was coming. We had everybody line up outside the ancient danger room. We didn't know what was inside. I wanted to be prepared in case some crud was in there. We had Arco go open the wall. As soon as he did, we saw some bugs inside. We were able to deal with them pretty easily. It wasn't too bad. Definitely could have been worse. I had everybody go after the bug hive thing inside the room. Fenji started taking shots at it. As people were shuffling in, one of Fenji's shots downed Rusty. We had Rob patch him up. A bulk goods trader was rolling in. We had Willow take Rusty away. We lined up everybody outside again and had Arco go open the crypto sleep caskets that were still inside. I didn't notice this at the time, but Mitsuko was still inside as well. Arco went for the caskets and opened them. I knew that once he opened one of them, all of them would open, but I was not prepared for what Arco would find.
Oh my gosh, they're super loaded.
Mitsuko went down quick. Some of our colonists who were outside shot in and were able to down one of the soldiers. Arco went down trying to get outside. We had Jonathan try and go rescue Arco. Our people opened fire, but one of the soldiers popped a shield, rendering our bullets useless. Jonathan got to Arco, but one of the soldiers started fighting him. We had Sev try and go get Arco. We downed another soldier. I told Ryoko to get down here. Sev pulled back kinda of her own accord. By this time, Mitsuko had crawled outside. Nico was shot and killed. Paula went down. I had Sev try and rescue Paula. Stan went down. Little Jonathan with his bike helmet went down. Rob 2 was shot and killed. Williamson 3 went down. Sev carried Paula away. The rest of our people who were down there were either down or dead. The soldiers pursued Sev. I started to bring down Fenji and Melanie. I sent Melanie to try and tend Arco. The soldiers downed Ryoko as she was trying to make her way down. And then...
Arco died! No!
Willow was shooting back, but I had her get back inside. Sev had almost made it back with Paula. I told Melanie to go for Williamson. Our traps downed a soldier. And remember that bulk trader that came through? They got involved and started fighting the soldiers until there was just one soldier left.
There's one left. Williamson 3 died. Mitsuko died.
The traitors killed the final soldier, and all the soldiers were dead. We sent Melanie after Stan, but
Stan died.
I sent Fenji after Ryoko, and Rusty after Jonathan. Fenji got to Ryoko, and then Rusty to Jonathan, but not long after he got her to bed. Willow then went down. I had kinda started to think about what we then needed to do when I had Rusty tend Sev and Melanie tend Willow.
No, Willow died. Ash was...
We had 5 people left from 14, and 1 was a kid, and we had lost Arco 2. After over 400 days, Arco 2 was no longer with us. Our base was a mess. But you know what? Nexus still survived. I had Fenji start burying our dead, but eventually we had more than just Fenji working on getting our people buried. Arco's droid, Little Builder, went feral because he wasn't hooked up to Arco anymore, and bro just skipped town. We started having funerals, a lot of funerals. We finished our funerals on day 483. On day 485, it rained, washing away the blood that was outside. We begrudgingly made Rusty the prime technarch. We had Rusty start cleaning up the base. On day 488, Jonathan lost it, and we had Macho Man Rusty try to subdue him.
You've got to be joking.
So that was our leader for you. On day 490, one of our captives joined us. We named him Williamson 4. We had our new recruit Williamson become our new mechanator. On day 491, I saw...
Oh, look. We have a Thrumbo. Not all is lost.
I'm honestly not sure when the Thrumbo got tamed, but there he was. We named him Thramus. With Williamson 4 and Thramus, we started to rebuild what we had lost. On day 493, another captive joined the team, and we named him Rob 3. We just needed an Arco now, even if the new Arco wouldn't compare with Arco 2. On day 497, we had another Machine Jubilee, and at the end of it, somebody wanted to join again, and the new person was a guy, so you already know his name. On day 499, because things had been so easy for us up to this point, do you know what happened?
A toxic... You're joking me. Okay, you know what? This is okay.
I sent Fenji to go take care of the toxic spewer like Melanie did that one earlier. He got there and we saw the room we'd have to get into. We had him head up the right side to try and avoid the turret's range. We then had him head west and he was able to reach the room with no problems. He opened the wall and was able to destroy the spewer. We then had him head north. And shortly later we sent him home. Fenji was able to get to the spewer, get to the room where the spewer was, destroy it, and get back home, all with no problems. A successful stealth job indeed. Just as we hit day 506, a war merchant showed up, and we had Rusty go talk with him, and they had some things that I was interested in.
Hold up. We could have a grizzly bear army.
We bought them and named them Papa Bear and Mama Bear. On day 513, we got another infestation. As we were getting our people into the room, Williamson 4 started a fight with Rob 3 and went down. The battle against the bugs was on. Rusty went down, no surprise there. Sev went down. Jonathan went down. Arco 3 went down. Our animals kinda carried, honestly. Mikey went down. Thramus downed the last bug. We were dealing with our colonists when Mikey died. And not long after Mikey...
Wait, Sev died. Oh no.
Sev died. Overall, we weren't looking good. Rob 3 was the one kinda keeping things together until he cracked and went on a murderous rage. He went after the one person who probably had had the most traumatic life in Nexus, Melanie.
No. He just killed Melanie.
Rob 3 murdered Melanie in cold blood. But we weren't out of the woods yet.
Oh, this is deeply upsetting.
What just... And then, shortly later... And we were down to just Rusty, Williamson 4, and the murderer Rob 3.
That's who we had in Nexus. We were in a pretty rough spot. Our wealth was at 148,000.
On day 516, we got a quest that would bring in somebody if we accepted it. We just need to fend off some rats. We started burying our people and accepted the quest. The new guy showed up, and the rats did as well shortly after. The rats were no problem. We renamed the new guy to Argo 4. We started having funerals for our fallen folks. We eventually had the funeral for Melanie, which was slightly awkward because her murderer was there in attendance. At this point, we essentially had a brand new start with Nexus. Our cemetery was filling up. Unfortunately. What was fortunate, however, was the fact that we had a good number of days after all this crud where nothing crazy happened. On day 532, it was a big moment for us because we finished making our own droid for the first time. We made a little cleaner droid, and we named him Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean got to work immediately, which was great. On day 535, we finished making another droid. This guy would help us with plant things, planting seeds, harvesting, chopping trees, that sort of thing. We called him Aaron. Aaron the Agrahand. On day 540, our third droid came into the world, and he was going to help us with lifting things around the base. So I named him Lawrence. We made Arco 4 our new hive announcer. On day 545, I saw that Williamson 4 had tamed another Thrumbo. We named him Thrill. Now we had Thromus and Thrill, our Thrumbos. On day 546, I was made aware of a transport pod crash carrying a lady named Lisa. We accepted Lisa in. We had Arco go save her. On day 548, we decided to make Rusty something he'd been lacking this whole time. A spine. I didn't actually see the surgery, but I think Arco 4 did the operation. I checked on Rusty and he had his new spine. On day 558, we had a machine jubilee, thinking that somebody was going to want to join us at the end of it. But unfortunately, it was a boring jubilee and nobody came. We had made another droid on day 560, and this guy was a constructor droid, and we named him Chris. See what I was doing here with these names? Also, isn't it great to not have anything super terrible happen for a while? On day 564, another transport pod crashed. We had Williamson go get the person. This new guy was a Neanderthal, which means he would be tough like Arco 2. On day 567, I realized that we had a third Thrumbo, and it was a girl. We could now have Thrumbo babies. We named her Thrumbolina. On day 568, a random dude wanted to join the team, and we definitely let him. We named him Waldo. On day 570, we arrested Waldo for the purpose of converting him. Things would just be easier that way. And on day 579, he converted over, so he was good to be released. We got raided again on day 583, and it was another siege raid. We blasted them with some shells, and shortly they were assaulting the colony. And that was that. On day 589, Thrumbolina gave birth. This was the beginning of a long history with Thrumbos, such that we would end up not even naming all of them. However, we named our new baby Thrumbo Throrisa. We now had 4 Thrumbos. No big deal. On day 597, our Neanderthal guy Braga joined the club. On day 599, we did something we had never done before. Through Williamson, our mechanator, we summoned a mech threat, and this one was called Diabolus, which doesn't sound at all threatening. Not long after we summoned him, he landed. We were going to start shelling the droids to get them to start attacking the base, but before a shell even hit the ground, they started making their way over. The boss droid led the way through our traps, which was great for us.
Oh my gosh, we did. We did it!
And that was that boss fight. Pretty slick. The reason we summoned this mech boss was because by beating him, along with doing some other things, we could ultimately make more kinds of droids if we wanted. There were a total of 3 tiers of mech bosses we could beat, and this was the first tier. On day 603, we had another infestation to deal with. Nobody died this time, but I just wanted to show how cool it looked to see our Thrumbos and bears go to work. The following days went by without a hitch. Well, I say without a hitch, but on day 608 we got raided, and Williamson's brother was one of the raiders. Unfortunately for Williamson's brother, he hit our traps. And even more unfortunate was the fact that bro was unwaveringly loyal, meaning we couldn't recruit him. Suffice it to say, we won't be hearing about Williamson's brother again. Anyway, without a hitch, on day 615, I may or may not have caused an infestation that led to the death of our last male bear. Slight hitch. On day 620, Thumbelina gave birth again, and we eventually named the baby Thrussica. On day 627, another mech cluster landed outside our walls, and it had another mech assembler thing like before. We tried to blast them, but unfortunately, we either missed bad enough or used toxic shells that didn't do anything to them, so the mechs continued to sleep soundly. Waldo eventually wandered too close to them though and woke them up, so they were up. Unfortunately, Thromus was having a hard time walking around out there by the mechs and was eventually downed. On day 628, Thromus died. On day 630, I realized we were on a bit of a time crunch.
Whoa, wait, what's going on? No way. Oh, we gotta deal with this then.
I had everybody go above the mechs, and then one of the Thrumbos made the move and got their attention. So it was go time. I lined everybody up, and we started shooting the biggest droid there, the Centipede. Braga hucked an EMP grenade that stunned the Centipede. Rusty was down. Surprise, surprise. We shot the Centipede some more. We were able to get one of the turrets. We did more damage on the Centipede. Lisa went down. Waldo went down. We took out one of the smaller droids. One of the Thrumbos worked on the mortar that was getting us, and eventually got it to explode. But when it did, the Thrumbo went down. We were able to destroy the mech assembler. We lost a grizzly bear. We destroyed the last of the turrets, but we weren't done yet. We were able to take out another droid, and then another. And finally, we got the centipede. We tended our wounded people. Unfortunately, Arca was working on patching up Thrill when... No! And to follow that up... Leave it to the stupid mechs. It was a rough time for Nexus. Luckily, techno-transcendentism lived on though. And speaking of which, on day 639, Williamson was brought over to the cause. We were able to get through the following days without any major accidents happening. But on day 648, we were swarmed by man-hunting boom rats. A bear decided that that was the best time to leave the base. And once it opened a door, that drew all the rats to that door. I brought out our people. The rats busted through the door. Braga went down, then Lisa, then Arco and Rusty. Williamson 4 was the last one on his feet. He took care of the last rat in the immediate area. We were trying to tend Lisa when another rat came up on us, and ultimately Williamson went down as well. Now, here's a thing that happens in Rimworld.
The man in black is here.
The man in black shows up to your colony if literally all of your colonists are unable to defend themselves for one reason or another. He's basically the last-ditch effort to save the colony. So naturally, bro only shows up when things aren't going super swell. We had the new guy patch up Braga, and as he did so, Lisa stood up on her own. Rusty should take notes. We had Lisa tend Arco, who was currently just burning on the ground. I ultimately had Lisa pick up Arco, which put out his fire. Then I had her do the same for Williamson, who had also caught fire. I had the man in black pick up Braga to put him out as well. I had Lisa pick up the medicine that the man in black had with him. The new guy was able to get Braga to bed. Lisa went down again. And once again, all of our colonists were down except for the man in black. Rusty didn't make it. We had the man in black tend Lisa. One of our Thrumbos grabbed Williamson and got him to bed. The man in black tended Braga. Then Williamson. Lisa got to bed somehow, probably by way of Thrumbo. The man in black then went back to Braga, then Lisa. It was a rough time. We then had him tend Williamson. Our new dude then threw a fit, which really wasn't ideal. Once it came back to us, we had him tend Arco, then Braga. We were back. We were back from the brink. We lost Rusty, but we now had this new guy. And by the way, the whole man in black thing is a one-time deal, so no other dude in black would come save us if things got that bad again.
Williamson!
We now were back from the brink, and now we had the perfect name for the new guy. We had Williamson come get the mech link from Williamson and then put it in himself. What happened next? About that brink. Now we were back. You know what? I'm just gonna stop talking about the brink. We had a funeral for Williamson, the previous one. Then we had our other funerals. On day 654, a dude fell from the sky right outside our prison. We rescued him and got him to bed. We captured him for the purpose of converting him. Here's the problem. The guy was with the Empire, and capturing him made the Empire mad at us. The Empire could destroy us if they wanted. Remember those people who came for royal tributes and stuff? They were not to be trifled with. And I unintentionally trifled. I thought bro was not with the Empire, but well, dang it. We released the guy to make the Empire a bit less mad at us. On day 661, a war merchant came through and they were selling wargs. We bought 2 male wargs. On day 663, we got raided by none other than the Empire. Thankfully, it wasn't that wild of a raid. On day 665, Arco was able to convert Lisa to techno-transcendentism. On day 666, we had an opportunity to help our relations with the Empire. One of their people crashed by our base. We planned to heal them up and then release them. We got that person to bed, and we're not going to convert them or anything. I just wanted to get the Empire to a place where they wouldn't destroy us. Shortly after that, we accepted a quest. A kid joined us who was running from some people after he profaned a peace ritual between them. We gave the kid his new name. Since we accepted the quest, we would now need to take care of those people chasing Rob. On day 669, the people showed up. Despite both parties looking for Rob, they actually fought each other, which made things easier for us. Eventually, they fled after enough of them hit our traps. Rob had a growth moment shortly after they left. On day 670, our relations with the Empire improved when we released their guy. On day 673, a slave ship came through, and we did something we hadn't ever done before. We bought some people. We weren't meaning to keep them as slaves though. We were going to try and convert them and recruit them just like how we dealt with everybody else we captured. Things didn't go quite that way though. One of our slave captives, that lady, went berserk, broke out of her cell, and started punching one of my cows. Williamson tried to knock her out, and Lisa came to lend a hand until... So, we were down 1 slave captive. On day 675, though, Squid converted over. We had a machine jubilee on 678. And it was a good one this year. Shorty wanted to join once it was over. We accepted him in, but he came in at a very bad place in the map and went down pretty much as soon as he arrived. See, previously, a mech cluster had arrived, so he crawled a pretty good distance. And we had Arco go get him fully out of the mech's range. And then we patched him up and rescued him. On day 683, we decided to move on the mech cluster that downed Shorty. We lined everybody up and tried to use our little droids as bait. Things didn't go entirely according to that plan, but Williamson was able to get in there and hit the turret till it started to spark. We cleared away our people and it exploded. We then focused on the small turret. Little Rob got in there, threw an EMP grenade, and it destroyed the turret and got this power cell thing sparking as well. He started getting the heck out of there. But when the cell blew up...
He's a hero.
Rob was only a child, but he was also a man. We saved him, and he helped save us. On day 690, Squid joined the team, one of the slaves we bought in order to free. This was great, because he could start to work on training our animals again. We hadn't had a good animal person for a while, so we couldn't train our thrumbos and warg and stuff, so they were losing some of their abilities. I said warg because we had lost one of the wargs we bought, but now we'd be able to start building up those skills again. On day 695, another slave ship was passing by. We bought this guy Raccoon, and we're gonna do what we did with Squid, now Rob 5, and capture him, convert him, and recruit him. But here's the bummer thing. We learned he was unwaveringly loyal, but literally, later that same day, he broke out of prison, then fought to the death. So... Well, there goes that problem. On day 698, another quest came in like the one that gave us Glass/Rob, and we accepted it. The new girl showed up. We named her Karen. On day 702, one of our captives joined our crew. Our first dragon person. We named him Jugliotis. On day 709, we accepted a quest. We had to protect 3 people who were rescued from mechs. We had to protect them for 24 days. That wouldn't have been that big of an issue, except for the fact that the mechs were looking for their former prisoners. Day 716 was a big day. We made Rob 5 our next prime technarch. We then gave Rob a brand new eye, making him a proper cyborg. And we then recruited another of our captives. He was a dragon person like Jugliotis. We named the new guy Shaggy. On day 729, Rob 5 hopped into our biosculptor for the first time. And why did he do this, you may ask? We were now at the point where our colonists would get upset as they got older. They'd want to hop into our biosculptor pod and go through an age reversal, which would make them 1 year younger biologically speaking. So that's what Rob was undergoing. The problem was that the de-aging process took like 4 days. And during that time, Rob would be out of commission. On day 732, we lost our other warg when we were fighting off some bugs. Rob was still getting de-aged at that point, so yeah, the de-aging thing wasn't the most ideal of things. And also, during that bug situation, remember how Jugliotis was a dragon person? That meant he could breathe fire. I had him breathe fire on some bugs that were downed but not dead, and one of the people we were supposed to be protecting walked in front of him.
Oh no! We attacked the... No!
That was a bad look, diplomatically speaking. Remember how mechs were looking for those people we were supposed to be protecting? One of the mech clusters showed up at the end of day 732, and on day 733, the shuttle showed up for the people. The 24 days were up, and also on day 733, Rob finally finished getting some of his youth back. On day 734, we sent the people away whom we were protecting. Despite breathing fire on one of them, they were all still alive, and we completed our quest. On day 735, we dealt with the mechs with a fantastic amount of ease. On day 736, we got an opportunity to once again not be enemies with the Empire. I took it. The mechs from the quest showed up immediately, and we started blasting. And amazingly, our shots were on point. We then had Rob take some animals and go finish the job. And just like that, the Empire was no longer our enemy. On day 742, we made some progress with our cyborg super being goal by giving Shorty a new spine. On day 758, a transport pod crashed. We patched him up, rescued him, and then the next day, he joined us. It was a bummer though, because you see that minor infection he had? It was taken care of at that point, but let's just say it didn't stay that way. We never even renamed Rook, but he will forever be a part of Nexus's history. On day 764, we summoned the next tier of mech boss, the War Queen. She eventually showed up. We gave them a welcome basket. We got everybody ready. Our traps took out most of the War Queen's groupies, and eventually it was basically just her left. One of the things about the War Queen is that she would spawn and send out these little droids ahead of her to break any traps so that she wouldn't hit them. So she soon made it through. We were able to stun her, but a lot of our fire was focused on her little droids that she spawned. We eventually had Rob sick some animals on her, but before a Thrumbo could even damage her, we got her. That's another mech boss in the bag. On day 768, a random person wanted to join the colony. We definitely let him in, and he was already an augmented technist. What a guy. We gave Jambo a brand new name, Jimbo. On day 770, our wealth was above 200,000. Nexus was able to experience a nice season of peace for the coming days, with nothing too terrible happening. On day 784, I saw that we had successfully tamed a new Thrumbo. We named her Thromro. On day 786, another random person wanted to join. We named him Neil. Neil was a waster. On day 790, another waster joined our crew. We named her Alice. Also on day 790, a mech cluster landed. It had a smoke spewer, which wasn't the worst thing it could have had. But what did stink was the fact that it did have a shield that blocked my mortar shells like nothing. We had our new recruit Alice shoot an EMP into the mess of mechs, and it definitely woke them up, but other than stunning one droid, it did virtually nothing else. On day 793, a royal tribute collector showed up, and things got hairy.
Oh, they're getting destroyed.
So, yep, we EMP'd the shield, which knocked it down for a bit, and we were able to get some shells on the inside, but the shield came up again with a quickness. At this point, there were just turrets. The droids had been taken care of. We had Jimbo, Shorty, and Neil head out as a special task force. Shorty had a smoke grenade launcher and shot a smoke grenade that created a cloud that protected the fellas from being seen by the turrets. Neil and Jimbo were then able to get right up next to the smoke spewer inside the shield. We had Neil, who had EMP grenades, toss one at the set of two turrets. And when they were stunned, Jimbo went in and started smacking them with his warhammer. And then Neil tossed another grenade at the remaining turret. Jimbo was able to take out the small turret and get the big one sparking, while Neil kept the other turret stunned. After the first big turret exploded, Jimbo was able to get after the final turret and destroy it. We then had Jimbo destroy the smoke spewer itself. Nexus then experienced the longest stretch of tragedy-free existence that it probably ever had. We expanded our crafting operations, killed some man-hunting turtles, made Shorty our new hive announcer. Times were good. On day 827, we converted Williamson to techno-transcendentism. On day 829, we got raided, but this time it was different. These guys were breachers. Raiders who would focus on breaking a hole in my walls and coming in that way, as opposed to coming in the front and hitting my traps. Their grenades made quick work of my wall. We had our thrombos engaged, and we opened fire. These guys were persistent. We lost a grizzly bear, but finally we got them to flee, and still no major tragedies.
A mech hive.
These mechs were breachers too. Our turrets did some work on the droids after they busted in. We were able to handle the centipede with a surprising quickness, and our boy Jimbo went to work on the rest of the droids with some help, but not a ton. And amazingly, he was able to take them all out.
No one disrespect Jimbo ever again.
On day 836, I realized we didn't have any bears anymore, which probably meant that the one that died to the first breachers was our last one. But later on the same day, we learned that Jimbo and Lisa were a couple. So hey, this was our first couple in nearly 400 days. And then on day 841, Shaggy and Karen became a couple. Nexus was back to having two couples. The casualty-less time for Nexus continued on. On day 856, another person wanted to join our squad. But this wasn't just some random person. This was Arco 4's son. We accepted him in. We named him Goober. The next day, we made Williamson our new Prime Technarch. Rob was our Prime Technarch leader, but he lost the job when he got arrested for having murderous rage. And Williamson was our Mechanator, the leader of our droids. So it just made sense to make him our Prime Technarch instead. Unfortunately, our streak of no tragedies ended that same day, when Karen and Shaggy broke up, man. Just kidding. It was a bummer though, because on day 862, our other couple broke up, which meant that we were back to having no couples in Nexus. On day 865, Waldo gave up on us. But, you know how we handled stuff like that. And Waldo was back with us. Arco's kid Goober grew up a bit on day 866. By day 868, our wealth was at 237,000. On day 870, I saw that we had tamed a male Thrumbo. We named him Threet. At this point, with how many people we had, it was only a matter of time before crud hit the fan again. But the questions were when and how bad it would be. On day 876, Shorty converted Karen to techno-transcendentism. On day 877, Williamson gave up. So that wasn't ideal. The next day, we recruited a new person. We let Paul keep his name. On day 881, we recruited yet another person. We had so many people. And also, regarding who were proper augmented technists, everybody in Nexus was, except for Goober and Neil. Since we had been converting the people we'd been capturing before we tried to recruit them. We named the new guy Robin. On day 883, we converted Goober. So Neil was the only person standing between us and unified thoughts. The age of no tragedies continued for Nexus. On day 891, I accepted a quest that would send 18 man-hunting wargs to the colony. But if we got it, we'd get a really cool helmet. The wargs showed up.
Oh man, that's a scary sight, dude. They smell goober.
We got the helmet. On day 892, I saw that we had a Thrumbo baby, and we named her Thressa. On day 898, we added another Thrumbo to our ranks because Jimbo tamed one. Just look at our crew, huh? We were 15 strong. On day 902, we converted Neil to techno-transcendentism, which meant that we now had uniform thoughts, baby. But our joy would be short-lived, because later that same exact day, I sent Waldo, Arco, and Neil down there to try and help him. Things weren't looking good. Our first death in quite some time. Jimbo tamed another Thrumbo, so that was good. We buried Robin and had his funeral. Little did I know that what just happened was just a taste of what was to come. We named one of our newest Thrumbos Thrummy and our other one Thruzen. By day 904, our wealth was around 260,000. The days ticked by until day 909. That is when it happened. It was a siege raid. If we didn't do anything, they were just gonna blast us with mortar shells. Apparently, I could have waited them out, but I don't think I knew that at the time. And I have no clue how long that would have been anyway. I acted. But here's the thing. See that mortar? That thing launched a shell. And would you believe it? It struck right near where my own mortar shells were being stored. So there went all of my stored shells. I launched a shell that was already loaded in. The raiders continued firing at us. I militarized our colonists. I brought them down to kinda where the raiders were. The raiders kept firing. I moved our people up. We opened fire on one of the raiders. We downed one of the raiders. One of our Thrumbos went in, and the rest of us followed. Another raider went down. There were so many raiders though. The raiders were laying into our Thrumbo. Lisa went down, then Waldo. At about the same time, another raider went down. Shorty went down. More of our Thrumbos started coming in as backup. Goober went down. Another raider went down. A different raider went down along with Karen. Arco went down. Everything was on fire. I had Paul try and rescue Lisa. Rob was going to rescue Waldo. Williamson was going to rescue Shorty. Juggly Otis went down. I had Shaggy go try to rescue Waldo instead of Rob. Shaggy went down, then Neil. The raiders were then able to down one of our Thrumbos. Jimbo downed a raider. Paul went down after getting exploded. Also Jimbo. I had Alice come try to rescue Waldo. Our Thrumbos downed a raider, but then the raiders downed one of our Thrumbos who was a baby. Our adult Thrumbo, who had been downed, got up, only to be downed again shortly thereafter. One of our Thrumbos downed another raider, and at that point, the raiders decided to flee. But we obviously were not in the clear yet. I had Williamson tend Shorty, as he was the one in the worst way out of everybody. I then had Rob tend Neil, as he was the second worst off. At that point, Lisa got up on her own. Our Thrumbos got two more raiders, even though they were fleeing. Arco got up. I had Lisa tend Goober. Before he could reach Neil, Rob went down and was unconscious. I then had Arco try to reach Neil. Jugliotis then got up on his own. I had Juggly try to rescue Paul. Neil got up once he had been tended a bit. I then had Neil actually tend Arco. I had Williamson focus on Rob. Arco went down again. I had Alice tend Karen. Neil went down again. Paul got up on his own. Arco got up as well. I had Alice come tend Arco instead. And then, as Williamson was working on Rob,
Rob died.
I then sent him over to Neil. We then lost Thromro. I had Alice pick up some medicine that had been lying around and then tend Arco with it. I had Williamson do the same thing with Neil. After tending Neil, I had Williamson pick up more medicine. Paul then went into a daze, so he would be out of commission for at least a bit. I had Williamson focus on Karen next. I had Alice go grab more medicine and then focus on Lisa. Williamson dropped before he could get to Karen. So now Alice was the only colonist on her feet in her right mind. But then, at that point, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't control any of the colonists. There was no man in black who was gonna come save us this time. I literally had to just sit and watch this happen.
Karen, no, everyone's down. No. Oh my gosh. Everything's falling around me. Oh.
Right after Arco died, Neil got to his feet and started patching himself up.
Arco died. Who's left? 1, 2. Waldo died.
I had Neil try to go rescue Williamson. Neil got him back inside our base and we had him then tend him. But as he was tending him, and as Williamson had a single solitary hour left to live, which led to... and then this happened. Neil, in his berserkered brain, decided it was a great idea to start punching a Thrumbo that we had not tamed yet. Needless to say, he went down. One of our tamed Thrumbos came and grabbed him and got him to bed. And another one got Jimbo to bed. But unfortunately, with the loss of Neil, we were now down to 4 colonists. Paul finally snapped out of it. I had him go try to rescue Shorty. 3 colonists. Paul got Shorty to bed. I then had him focus on Alice. He got her back inside the base. I had Paul extract the mech link from Williamson and put it inside his own head. So Paul was now our mechanator. I also had him wear Williamson's old helmet.
Alice died?
2 colonists. Turns out we didn't feed Alice enough. And Shorty was about to go the way Alice went. We had Paul feed Shorty, but then, after all this crud, we naturally accepted her in. We needed all the help we could get. But unfortunately, and naturally, she was paralyzed. Later that day, Shorty was able to walk again, but was a little worse for wear. Our wealth had dipped to 240,000. We burned through some funerals. On day 914, I realized that we no longer had uniform thoughts because of our new friend. Just to add a little cherry on top, this right here, this whole catastrophe, this caused our goals to change. We'd still try to become cyborg super beings, so that goal stayed. Convert the world though? Forget the world. Regarding the surviving as long as we could goal, now we just wanted to survive long enough to get the heck off this planet. So keep this change in plans in the back of your mind. On day 919, another transport pod crashed. We rescued the person, and then this happened.
Wait. What just happened? So this person just fell from the sky, and then we had a wanderer join.
We obviously let her join. Paul got the other person to bed and tended him. You may not want to get too attached to Amaya, though, because,
Of course.
That one was on me. I told her to come get this weapon that was in the area where the warg was. That's my bad. On day 920, the guy we rescued joined. On day 927, Hataru got up from her paralyzation. Is that a word? So we now had 4 mobile colonists once again. Our 4 people continued on, and so did techno-transcendentism. On day 934, we named a new baby Thrumbo Thrombopolis. us. We were able to cruise over the next days without anybody dying. Thank goodness. On day 941, Shorty converted the new guy Wilksy to techno-transcendentism. And on day 942, we discovered a wild thing about Hataru. She was Arco 4's wife at some point. And she was the original Williamson's daughter. We had the daughter of one of the OG colonists on the team. On day 943, we named a couple Thrumbos. We named one Thrani and the other Throxy. And on day 944... At this point, I think it's safe to say that Nexus was on the come up. We had suffered a major loss, but we pushed through, and now things were looking much better. On day 945, a slave ship came through, and we bought 3 slaves to try and convert and make colonists. Unfortunately, one of the people we bought went berserk. Hataru went to go deal with the situation, but a Thrumbo was with her, and, well, things ended poorly.
Oh my word, she was stabbed to death.
On day 956, we converted one of the other people we bought. On day 958, we made Paul our new prime technarch. Yet another transport pod crashed on day 962. And believe it or not, he wasn't paralyzed. As a matter of fact, he got up before one of us could get to him. After a little convincing, though, we captured him. On day 967, we recruited this furry guy we had captured from a raid. His name was Bite. Hataru talked to him while he was in bed, and as soon as he was recruited, he went down in his bed and needed to be rescued. See, here's the thing about Bite. He wasn't exactly the most able-bodied person to ever live. He had a frail torso, a bad back, an artery blockage in his heart, and a peg leg. Bro was not Arnold Schwarzenegger from 1970. He was a perfect example of why we needed to transcend. On day 969, we bought a pair of wargs from a war merchant, and we named them Wag and Wog. On day 972, Bite went down just walking, but then after crawling a bit, he got back up. On day 974, he went back down, but the next day he got back on his feet. On day 977, we were able to recruit one of the people we bought. They were now a free colonist, and we now had our next Arco. And then on day 981, our final slave captive was recruited. We had our next Williamson. We now just needed our next Rob. And would you happen to remember that guy that we totally peacefully convinced to let us capture him? Yes! We now had our next Rob. Once again, the names of the original colonists were filled. A new Megasloth self-tamed on day 988. On day 991, Paul did some work on a bionic spine. And we were gonna make a bionic arm as well. Transcendence was coming. We had crossed 1,000 days when we had another transport pod crash. We rescued the person, got her to bed, and later that same day, she joined. We named her Frida. On day 1019, we summoned the final mech boss, Apocraton, and he showed up shortly later. I had our people form up. He eventually made his way to the front of our base. His droids sliced up Wag. It was wild because as soon as Apocraton hit one of our traps, he jumped back and made his minions go ahead. He then showed more of what he was capable of by releasing some sort of electric blast and resurrecting one of his dead minions. I didn't catch it the first time he did it, but the second time,
we're dead. He just straight zombied these guys.
His droids went after Wog. He downed our Megasloth. So basically, Apocraton would keep rezzing his buddies as they broke our traps. Luckily though, this is Rimworld, and nothing bad would happen while we fought this boss.
You're joking me. Now? Of course it would happen now, dude.
Yep, totally kidding. I had our people focus on Apocraton and just let the bugs be. The mech boss apparently had a limit on how many times he could revive his pals, because eventually he started hitting our traps while his buddies stayed dead. So that was good. Soon, all of our traps were gone. The infestation wasn't looking good. We lost our warg Wag. Bite couldn't take the stress and went down. Our Thrumbos were doing business. this. We then lost Wog. The bugs downed the Thrumbo who was fighting them, and were then just destroying our freezer. Apocryton started fighting one of our Thrumbo calves. We were eventually able to break Apocryton's shield. Our Mega Sloth died. And finally, on day 1020, we got him. We weren't out of the woods yet, though. I had everybody form up on the freezer. I had Frida go open the door, and we opened fire. Our turrets dealt with the remaining of Apocryton's minions, and as they did, we lost Cressica. And finally, we were able to down the last of the bugs. We were repairing our droids who had gone down in the freezer when 3at died as well. I think some droids had downed him earlier. Other than the animals who died, though, Nexus suffered no loss of life. We had survived the final mech boss. On day 1024, we made Hataru our research specialist. On day 1034, we gave Williamson 6 a new spine. We had a new cyborg on the team. On day 1041, we lost Thrummy after a raid that our traps dealt with. Over time, we had also lost some Thrumbos due to not maintaining their training, and they had returned to the wild. The age of Thrumbos was ending for Nexus. Over the course of the following days, nobody died, and that's what's important. On day 1052, we finished researching the first part, if you will, of the spaceship that we were going to build. We had previously researched Starflight basics, so we only had 4 more things to research for our ship. Also on day 1052, I was contacted by people who knew the location of a Persona Core. A Persona Core is something that I could not craft myself, but we would need to get our hands on one in order to build our ship and get out of here. We would just need to contact those people and trade for the Persona Core information, i.e. where it was. We started researching the next part for our ship. I tried to get the info about the Persona Core, but we couldn't afford it yet. We needed more goodwill with the people with the info. Getting off the planet was not going to be easy. Shortly later, we happened to get some visitors from the people with the Persona Core info. So we tried to butter them up by giving them some gold, and it actually worked pretty well. So we gave them more gold, and we were all set with the goodwill. Except we still couldn't get the Persona Core info. We needed 1,500 clams. We only had 500 at the time. So not long after this, I made a mistake. We had one of those defoliator ships to deal with, right? I had the idea to use Arco's furry manpower animal war call to summon those muffalos to come fight the mechs for us. He did that. And we also sicked the warg we had on the droids that came after us that weren't focused on the muffalos. The muffalos got killed, and the warg got downed as well. I had Arco try to get the heck out of there. He had 4 droids hot on his tail, and at least 1 more behind those. I had everybody start making their way out to try and save his rear, but
No. Holy smokes, we just lost Arco right now.
Arco 5 was our first loss in quite some time. We had his funeral. We were trying to pick off 2 of the droids, but they were able to get inside our base. Williamson went down. More people got involved. Wilksy went down, but we were finally able to down them both. Good heavens. 2 droids. We patched up the guys who went down, and they would live to see another day. So that was good. And by another day, it could have been literally 1 more day for Williamson. Bro made his way to where the droids were. I hadn't been keeping a close enough eye on him. I had him start coming back, but some droids started following him. Some of them stopped, but one kept following him until a war merchant who was visiting killed it for us. On day 1058, I had pulled everybody outside to try and deal with the droids. Eventually, everybody got to where they needed to be, and we opened fire. We downed one of the droids with ease. The war merchant people stepped in a bit. We were eventually able to take down 2 more of the droids. We had 1 left. I moved everybody up, and we were able to deal with the final droid without anybody else going down, including Bite. Williamson broke the defoliator ship, and we were safe once again. Rip Arco 5. On day 1062, we finished research researching the second part for our ship. And later that same day, we recruited somebody we had been holding captive, which was fantastic since because of Arco 5, there was an opening. On day 1071, we traded with the war merchant, which boosted our monies a healthy way towards being able to afford our Persona Core info. 2 days later, we finished researching the third part for our ship. Only one more to go. Literally right as it turned to day 1075, a transport pod crashed, and we accepted them in with a quickness. It was a lady named Rat, and she, guess what, was paralyzed. We rescued her. On day 1076, we finished researching the last part needed for our ship. The next day, Bite went down because of reasons. We finally renamed our new lady Wanda. Shortly after giving Wanda her new name, we made the trade for the location of the Persona Core, and a quest came in that showed us where it was. On day 1086, we finished loading up some guns into a transport pod for the people who were about to go on the Persona Core quest. I also was gonna send food, medicine, and cloth along with them. It was then time to go. I was going to send Williamson, Arco, Wilksy, and Rob. They got into their pods. I launched off all the pods, and eventually everyone was there. But Williamson was making his way to the others when he got ambushed. I had him move in because he had a shield and I thought he'd be alright. He engaged, but so did a droid that spit fire. Eventually, Williamson went down. I guess you could say he couldn't take the heat. I had Wilksy go try and tend Williamson, but he got flamed as well, and eventually he went down too. I sent Arco to go get a different gun. Rob got flamed a bit. Arco started using his different gun on the flame droid, but still caught some flames. Rob got a different gun too, and soon both guys were able to take out the flame droid. I then had them both engage the last droid, and they were able to down it. I had Rob make a bedroll, and as soon as he did, he put himself to bed, but I had him get out of bed and make 3 more bedrolls. There was work to do. Unfortunately though, I hadn't seen that Rob's left hand had been shot off at some point in the exchange with the droids, and he went down due to blood loss. I sent Arco to go pick up the medicine and then give Rob a hand. Wilksy got up, which was great. I had him come get medicine and then take over tending Rob so that Arco could go tend Williamson. But as he was tending Williamson, Arco went down. Turns out he was shot in the arm and had blood loss too. I sent Wilksy up to work on Arco, but...
What just happened? Did we lose everybody? No.
Oh yes. This was the most frustrating moment we've had so far. Here's what happened. All 4 of our dudes out there went down, right? Which stinks in and of itself. But I could have sent somebody out there to go help them. But that is not how it works. If everybody in a caravan, a group out on a quest, goes down, the entire caravan is lost. So I lost every single person and every single thing in that caravan. And what's more, the Persona Core quest gone. And I couldn't just send somebody else to go get the core. Like, it didn't show up on the map. And I was told that if I did manage to get back to the exact tile, the Persona Core would not be there. It was gone. I absolutely want to take responsibility for when crud goes bad and it's on me. But in this scenario, I couldn't help but call bullcrud on the game. Like I said, I could have sent somebody to go help, but I wasn't even given a chance. So that was frustrating. We lost a lot with what happened. We lost all of our original name holder colonists, Arco, Rob, and Williamson. And we also lost Wilksy. And we also lost the Persona Core in a way, which meant that we would need to wait for a new quest that would tell us where another one would be. The only thing we could do was move forward. We made Hataru our production specialist. We continued doing things around the base. But as far as making big steps towards leaving the planet, we kinda were treading water. We couldn't leave even if we wanted to because we didn't have that dang Persona Core. On day 1100, one of our captives joined our colonists. We also accepted a quest that would give us a Psi-Link neuroformer if we finished it. And to finish it, we would be given 193 toxic waste packs. That was the quest. They would just give us those things, which we could handle. The Psi-Link neuroformer showed up, and so did the waste packs. We gave the Psi-Link to Frida. We named our new member remember Phyllis. The next day, Shorty was able to convert Frida to techno-transcendentism. We would deal with those toxic waste packs over time, hauling them to our other waste packs. Bite was still Bite, in case anybody was worried. By day 1105, our wealth was fairly close to 300,000. On day 1107, Bite had a heart attack, but Shorty patched him up and he was back on his feet in no time. On day 1109, Wanda got better from her paralytic abasia. Remember those toxic waste packs? We had a stinking ton to deal with, even without the ones that were sent to us. But rest assured, we handled each and every one of them in a respectful, responsible fashion. Anyway, we gave Bite a prosthetic heart. No more heart attacks. After the major loss we suffered with the Persona Core fiasco, Nexus experienced a pretty chill season, as you can see, with nothing too wild happening. On day 1123, we gave Bite a bionic spine. So he now had a bionic spine, a prosthetic heart, and a peg leg. The next day, we saw that Bite was not only on his feet, but he had a little more pep in his step than we were used to seeing. We accepted a quest on day 1125 that would bring in a new person if we completed it. We would need to make 40 smoke shells to trade with this nearby settlement. We got to work. We had 2 weeks to finish the job. On day 1128, we were halfway done with our quest, so we were doing great on time. On day 1131, we finished the shells. We loaded them up into a transport pod, and then to go do the trade with the settlement, we were going to send Phyllis and get this Bite. I launched them, the shells, and eventually an alpaca to act as a pack animal close to where the settlement was and had them go trade with them. They reached the settlement, fulfilled the trade agreement, and we completed the quest. And Richard joined. Everybody got back to the colony safe and sound. We named Richard Maisie because that was actually her first name. On day 1136, it was Bite's birthday. And what did he get for his birthday? Hearing loss. On day 1141, we converted Maisie over to techno-transcendentism. Later that same day, though, we had Paul start coming down to help him. Shorty engaged with the Lynx. They traded blows. I had everybody start making their way down. Whoever could get there the quickest. Unfortunately, Shorty went down, though, and then
We lost Shorty.
revenge was the soup of the day.
You're dead to me. You understand? You will die this day. I don't even care.
For Shorty! Our cemetery was really stacking up at this point. We made Frida our moral guide in place of Shorty. We had Shorty's funeral. I saw that our wealth had crossed 300,000. We gave Frida a bionic eye. Remember how Bite had a peg leg? We gave him a bionic one instead.
There's his old leg.
Bite was kinda a stud now. And we also gave Paul a bionic leg. On day 1188, a quest came in. And it was a very important quest indeed.
A Persona Core. We could use that.
We would need to basically keep this prisoner Ryurk alive for 10 days. The tricky part was that Ryurk had blood rot, and there would be 2 raids that would come to break him out of prison. The prison being our base. I accepted the quest, and Ryurk showed up. We tended him immediately to stave off the blood rot. We then captured him. We just had to keep this guy alive for 10 days. On day 1193, Ryurk was still alive, and his shuttle would arrive in 7.5 days. But before then, we would also have 2 raids hit us. 2 days later, we tended Ryurk's blood rot again. Later that same day, though, Ryurk broke out of prison. I had Paul engage him, but he actually went down. Some of our droids shot Ryurk and downed him, and Hataru was able to capture him again. We had Bite rescue Paul. The next day, one of the raids showed up. Even though this was one of the raids, there were multiple groups within the raid. The raiders started coming through, and I had our people square up. Paul was back on his feet, by the way, which was good. One group started to flee before they even got through all of our traps, but there were 2 more groups to contend with, and they were able to get through our traps with extreme ease. Our defenses said hello. We downed 1 raider. A couple raiders were able to get up close and personal. Another raider was exploded by one of Bite's grenades. That's our our dude right there. Another raider went down to the absolute legend that is Bite. We downed one of the raiders that was close up on the front line, and then another raider went down. Things got a hair chaotic when raiders started burping fire at a thrumbo we had tamed, until finally another of Bite's grenades sent the raiders running. Ryuk's shuttle would arrive in a hair less than 4 days. We weren't finished yet though, because
Wait, that's number 2. This is number 2.
with this raid it was just one group, but they were breachers, and I did not catch that. So
What's happening? Who shoot? How'd they get in?
I started to have our people make their way down. One of our turrets got burped on. The raiders started trickling up into our base. Our people were preparing to greet them. That is, those of us who weren't binging on food, not pointing fingers at Paul or anything. We handled a good number of raiders, but there were so many of them. Bite got burped on. We continued to whittle them down until they finally started fleeing. We tended Ryuk's blood rot. We were not gonna lose this guy to blood rot after all this. His shuttle was gonna show up in 3 days. Ryuk went kind of crazy and punched his way out of his cell. We had Hataru smack him and take him back to bed. The days went by. On day 1200, Ryuk's shuttle arrived. We had free to load him up, and as soon as I sent off the shuttle, our rewards arrived, which included our prized Persona Core. By day 1207, our wealth was over 350,000. On day 1213, Eric joined our team. We obviously had to rename him. We were now only missing Rob and Williamson. We had a machine jubilee. And for the first time in a long time, it was good enough to make somebody want to join. We accepted Lorenzo in. Rob 7 was here. We made Rob 7 our new Hive announcer instead of Frida. We also gave Rob a new arm. On day 1223, we recruited a new guy. And we also gave Arco a new leg. With our new guy, we were able to fill the hole that the last Williamson left. On day 1225, we started laying out where our ship was going to be. It was time to start getting the heck out of here. Here's the thing though. Only augmented technists were going to be getting on this ship. And at this point, Wanda was not on the same page as the rest of us. We worked on converting her. We spent time working on the base. I wanted to be ready if crud hit the fan. Rob tried again to convert Wanda, but she was still not convinced. Hey, if she didn't want to come, that was on her. But we would keep on trying to bring her over. On day 1238, a Megasloth self-tamed, and we recruited a new person to the team. We named our new lady Roxanne. Even with Roxanne, Wanda was still the only one keeping us from unified thoughts. We named our Megasloth Megan. By day 1249, our wealth was almost to 400,000. On day 1252, I gave the okay to start constructing the ship, and the ship started coming together. On day 1275, after many attempts at trying to convert Wanda, I had Paul arrest her. We were going to convert her while she was in prison, then release her.
This is better for everybody.
On day 1279, we had another Jubilee, and it was unforgettable, and Calvin wanted to join. We brought him in. He was already an augmented technist, so he was good to go there. Slowly but surely, the ship was getting made. On day 1284, we had yet another new recruit. We named him Nico, as I forgot that we already had a Nico. By day 1285, we had built the ship reactor, which meant I could start the ship if I wanted to. Here's the deal about starting the ship. Once we started the ship, it would take 15 days to power up before we could take off. And during that time, we could be raided nearly every single day. The next day, we had yet another new recruit. We named her Catherine. On day 1291, we finished the last major part of the ship. The only things left to build were the pods for the colonists. We had survived 1300 days, but obviously we're not done yet. We had work to do. On day 1305, we recruited somebody we had been holding captive. We named him Scrump, then renamed him to Walter, which admittedly was a better name. On day 1306, we started the ship. 15 days from now, and the ship would be powered up. We got raided immediately. We blew them up and then let them hit our traps. Catherine went crazy and wanted to smoke, and basically jumped right into this pit of bugs we had.
Oh, she's dead. What on earth is she thinking?
Rip Catherine. Williamson 7 got an infection in his arm. We dealt with the bugs. We got raided again. They breached our walls. We dealt with them. We were still here, but unfortunately, remember that infection he had? That's what got him. We were down a Williamson. We got raided again. The raiders were dealt with again. By day 1310, we had 10 days left until the ship was powered. Raided again. Again, they were dealt with. We were raided yet again, but this time, as we were dealing with them, Arco died somehow. I learned that a mini turret had shattered his brain, which meant that I had caused Arco's death. I told him to stand where he did. Dang it. We ultimately won against the raiders, but the ship was not powered yet. We had a bit more than 7.5 days left. We dealt with at least 5 more raids before the ship was powered up, until finally on day 1320, the ship was powered up. We had, for the most part, survived the 15 days. I laid out where the crypto sleep pods were gonna go. On day 1333, we recruited one of our captives. Now we just needed a new Williamson. On day 1336, I saw a wild thing.
What?
We captured her. I had no clue what had happened to her, but I actually looked back at what I had recorded, and I saw that on day 1329, she was outside the walls with Paul, Nico, and Rob 7, and then she just wandered away. No alert, no nothing. She was just gone. But now we had her back. Kinda. Later on day 1336, after we had released Wanda from prison early, we started a conversion ritual. And finally, after so many attempts to convert her,
Let's go! Holy crud!
yes!
Uniform time!
On day 1338, we had a jubilee, and somebody wanted to join afterwards. We accepted her in, and not long later, Hataru came back to us. We had a full house, folks. We named our new lady Chloe, and just because we didn't have enough people already, another captive joined us on day 1341. We named her Jasmine, and yet another captive joined on day 1343. We left her with her name Kimmy. We had so many people, and yet no Williamson. You see this thing? We needed one of those for every single colonist. We needed a Williamson to fill one of those pods. By day 1350, our wealth was just under 500,000. By day 1351, more pods started getting made. Do you remember how we had been tastefully removing our toxic waste packs this whole time? Well, the people who had been on the receiving end recently, they had some thoughts on the matter. We welcomed them with open arms and definitely did not capture and convert one of their own. And hey, welcome Williamson 8. And by this time, we also had a good number of pods made. By day 1383, our wealth had crossed 500,000. Pods continued getting made. On day 1389, a mech cluster landed. We blasted them, and the droids attacked. Our traps were able to take care of them. We were now on day 1390. A different group of mechs landed. Those droids started making their way towards the base to attack it when...
Another one? You're joking? What's going on?
And this second group was packing. And what's more, we hadn't fully rebuilt our traps from that first mech cluster.
Do we just leave with like an unfinished ship?
We had been trying to finish the ship entirely with all the pods built, but we hadn't gotten there yet.
Dude, those guys would mow through. We might lose people in this if we fight. Oh man, I think we go.
I made the call. I started telling people to get in the pods. Williamson made it in, then Calvin. Then went Phyllis, Arco and Bite, Paul, Roxanne, Frida, and then Jasmine. Walter was working on getting in. The others weren't far behind. The first wave of droids were in the midst of our remaining traps. Kimmy made it in. The first of the droids had made it through our traps. Wanda made it in. Then Hataru. Our turrets were engaging the droids.
Get in?
All of our colonists had made it in. The second wave of droids was attacking. And finally, on day 1390...
I'm doing it.
you could safely say that we had transcended. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any prayer requests, please feel free to post in the comments below. I would love to know how I can be praying for you guys. Love God, love people, and I'll see you guys soon.